best interest of my clients, conducting my professional activities without causing or intending to cause harm. I will treat all my clients with equal respect regardless of their origin, sex, religion, gender, sex, sexual preference. I will represent honestly my tarot qualifications, including educational credentials and levels of certification. You know, you're getting the idea. These are the kind of ethics that you will abide as a member certified by CTN, and they also expect you to generate your own list of ethics in addition to that. That's part of your responsibility. There are a few considerations you should expect from a professional tarot reader. Not everyone agrees with this process of certification. That's always the case. There's always advocates who will speak out against this process. I also would like to just put up for you how you can get in touch with CTN. This is the Canadian Tarot Network. The phone number that's given there, the 866 number, is a toll-free number. And of course, that's their tarot site, tarotcanada.com. So yes, I think that certification can be a divisive process, but because some readers will agree with it and others won't. But out of fire can be forged a network that is collegial. Conferences, retreats, the CTN does have a conference every year, and so does the American Tarot Association. That is another certifying body. In England, they don't have a certifying body yet, so as I understand, CTN, our Canadian organization, is certifying both people in England and in the US as well. Some Americans are coming to the CN for certification. So I just also briefly want to speak to the present resurgence of the tarot, and then I'll close and take questions for a few minutes. I'm sure some of you will have some questions. Okay, the present resurgence of the tarot. As we age as a population, satisfaction gleaned from the material plane tends to decline. This is an inevitable process applying the simply personal to the collective, as I have done in this talk. I'm on the tail end of the baby boom, but I was old enough to remember the values, the times, the shift in consciousness that happened in the 60s. And those 60s folks are in midlife. Can you imagine what a midlife collective midlife crisis looks like? Well, you're in one. The tarot is growing in popularity once again, and this time is even more profound than in any other in history. It's been a challenge for historians of the tarot to document the journey of the tarot. The occult tradition of the tarot only dates back a few hundred years, but Egyptian symbols and stories are embedded in the heart of the tarot. Its symbolism crosses all religious traditions through to Egypt. Some say the tarot was created by a discriminated against nomadic people, referred to as gypsies. This archetypal universal story was put into card form. So in other words, the spiritual beliefs of these nomadic peoples was put into card form and called a game, so that it would become less threatening to the status quo. And there are many romantic stories about the tarot. I welcome you to research those on your own. But no past resurgence matches this one at the beginning of the 21st century. Our Western culture was rocked by the changes wrought to our values and metaphors by the 60s, when the boomer children reached the age of majority. This marked the beginning of the reawakening of the tarot. That's the late 60s and into the 70s and 80s. The president of U.S. Games went over to Europe in the 50s and brought back to the U.S. the first deck for commercial distribution. He went out to a number of bookstores in New York City and sold 300 decks right away. Since then, U.S. Games has sold millions of decks. Who knows? But I wouldn't even count that high. Just as the boomers are reaching midlife, along comes the internet. And if that wasn't enough, just when the boomers are learning how to traverse this difficult and strenuous collective midlife crisis, it was time for the millennium. Not surprising that interest in the tarot has exploded, and it has. I've watched this unfold since '74, when 1 in 20 people you talk to have heard of the tarot. And now, today, I'd be lucky to find 1 in 10 who hasn't heard of it. The tarot is extremely popular and well respected in Europe. It's been a parlor sort of amusement for several centuries. To be skilled in doing tarot readings in Europe is considered a very well-respected skill. In the US, the tarot was thrown into a maelstrom of materialism. Hundreds of decks were printed and sold, books, tapes, videos, popped on the ever-receptive market. Then the internet brought its own kind of tarot explosion, which is growing in leaps and bounds daily. For those with the fortitude and commitment to remain steadfast in their study of the tarot, there is a burgeoning global market for your skill.